Well, we're back. This is My Addiction. My name is Megan Weaver.
I'm Marti Noxon, and this is part 2. We're doing a two-parter, which is not our usual thing, but, you know, Jeffrey B. Chapman, too interesting.
Yeah, we want to talk to him twice.
Yeah. We do. And, this is a bonus episode, so enjoy.
Yeah, we're going to get into more with Jeffrey B. Chapman.
No, I was just going to say, you mentioned when we were talking about this that it kind of has cleared up some channels.
That's
and
where I was
there's
going.
been,
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
yeah, that's exactly where I was going.
I really want
Yeah.
you to talk about that because it's
Sure.
so fascinating, especially, I don't know if you've listened to the telepathy tape.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
have.
that is changing
Me too.
people's lives.
Have you listened to
Oh,
that
I've
one?
listened to the whole thing.
And I've always
crazy.
been a believer, and I've had some crazy, but it's very hard to stay in the reality of like, no, this stuff is real, right?
Yeah.
My bargaining mind will go right back to, because I've had some crazy experiences. However,
mine does too. And I am somebody who has mediumship abilities, and I still go through periods of my life where I find it absolutely unbelievable. And totally
explain a little
unrealistic.
bit more. Like, did that start to come through a lot more after?
Okay, so I've always, this is might get a little, I don't know why I preface it with it getting like woo-woo and esoteric and hippy-dippy for
I don't
people.
know. We all
because
get
it's like,
embarrassed
We all do.
because
I don't, because we're just conditioned to.
Right.
But the reality is that I've had bizarre spiritual experiences my entire life. Like since my earliest memories are actually my parents fighting, and then like really bizarre spiritual experiences where my guides would come through, and it was something that I was adopted, and the only person I ever told about I'm talking like 2 and 3 years old. Yeah. These are my earliest memories, and the only person I ever told about what I was experiencing was my mother, and she always believed me, but didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
And so because I didn't have anybody who was well versed in spirituality, mediumship, psychic abilities, it was just something that I just forgot about. I would just push it to the back of my mind. I was like, well, what am I going to do with this?
Right.
But it was something that although throughout the course of my childhood, I was always very confused by it. It didn't necessarily make sense to me, but I was never uncertain that it was real and that it was happening and that it was true. You know, I never confused it with a dream. I never thought it was delusional. I never thought it was crazy. Like
it was just the voices were telling you.
the voices.
No, I mean, okay, that doesn't sound good.
That's another psychological disorder.
No. Okay, so we don't have time to get into this, but I when I experienced like a out of body near death experience, it was like the knowing. Yes. We called it the knowing. And someone in the telepathy tapes called it that, and I burst into tears because I was like, it is such a clear channel.
Yes.
And there's no doubt there.
No.
You know, it is a certainty. And then as you go back into your like quote unquote rational mind, it's hard to give that the credence it deserves. Sure. But when I was having that experience, there was no doubt. It was all the stuff that came in later.
The knowing is the perfect word for it because that's what it always was. It was just a knowing. Yeah. It was there was never any doubt. It was never anything negative. It was never anything dark or scary. Yeah. I was never fearful of it in the sense that I knew these weren't like demons coming through or dark entities coming through. It was like the clearest, most loving guidance. And it was never, although it was confusing because it was like it felt like no one else is experiencing this. No one else can hear this. No one else can see this. Yeah. So it wasn't until it was in my early 30s I met my biological mother for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And she, although our abilities are different, she as a child as well she would see it differently than me. She can actually see spirits and energy and like ghosts of like past loved ones.
Birth mama.
Yeah, it's all passed down biologically.
That's the case.
Yeah.
And
her mother would see spirits and energies as well. So I had that as a kid, but that did scare the shit out of me. Whenever I would go into lower vibrational spaces, like basements specifically, it would just other kids are like scared of basements, the dark, but I was like fucking scared of basements.
I'm not going down there.
I saw a dead person once.
You did?
A spirit. Yeah, I was getting a massage. I was really hungover. Yeah. I'll be quick.
Oh, no.
But I was
this makes sense.
super hungover.
This makes sense, yes.
And I was getting a massage, and my masseuse, he was male masseuse, and he had told me before the massage that his cousin had died. And hand to God, she swooped in.
Yeah.
And when the massage was over, I said, did your cousin have like, did she wear like a turban and have braids? And she made a face, and I did a face. He burst. This is like a masculine masseuse.
Are you kidding? You never told me this.
He burst into tears.
Yeah.
And he grabbed his table and he said, I can't handle this. Wow. He apologized later. He said, you described her to a T and you made an expression with your mouth that was exactly her.
Yeah.
So she came, like, swooped in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this makes sense to me. So some of my earliest memories are, as a child, it was always when I was in, it would happen night after night after night. It was generally when I was in, my brain was in now what I understand it to be theta, in that kind of state between wake and sleep where your mind is so still, and it's like the vibrational frequency within yourself is so, it's like a radio station, right? We're all frequency, we're all energy, we're all vibrations, and when the volume isn't turned all the way up and the spikes of sound waves are kind of like clouding the truth and the essence of who you are when you're in that place of inner stillness, it opens up a channel. You are a frequency, you are a station, and if a stronger channel can then come in and kind of like disturb your own frequency or match your frequency, that's when you're connected to something else. So it makes sense that you were hungover and you were in a very relaxed state of getting a massage. So it just came through. Yeah. So So this would happen to me again and again and again as a child. Like I said, when I was in that state of between wake and sleep, and my guides would come through, and I would hear things and I would see things, and it was never anything scary that I was being seen or experiencing, but it was just fucking freaky because it was like it was just a lot, and nobody could explain it to me. Right? So it was about a 6 months before everything went down with my ex-partner, when I had broken up with him. Very long story short, but I could never make sense of what it was. Nobody could ever explain it to me. I'd gone to different psychics and different mediums. I talked about it in therapy for so long. I'd done EMDR therapy, going back into those childhood memories and trying to figure it out. Like, what the fuck was this? What is this? And then the algorithm, once again, there was a video that was presented to me about this hypnotherapist who was working with different government agencies and would put her clients in such deep hypnotic states that they were able to go. It was past life regression, which was really what she was doing, but they could sometimes go back into really traumatic experiences from their childhood and just recover or just recall the experience itself without going through the emotional trauma of it again. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Like if anything, I would want to do that. I would be curious to go back and see what that would bring up. So I found a woman in Woodland Hills who practiced this type of deep hypnotic therapy. Booked a session.
We gotta have like we have to have the Jeffrey like black book after this.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I want all these people.
Absolutely. No, I'll gladly share. So I remember calling her and asking her, I had these weird experiences as a kid. Are you familiar with this? And she's like, yeah, I've had many clients like this over the course of the decades that she'd been working as a clinical hypnotherapist. And I said, I would love to book a session with you. And she said, she was booked months in advance. Of course. And I kind of told her the details of what I experienced as a kid. And she was like, I'll fit you in next week. So I went in the next week for a session. I remember being terrified and then equally convinced that it wasn't going to work. I wasn't going to be able to be hypnotized. That she was going to tell me it was all a dream, it was all my imagination, and that none of it was real. Like those were the two things I was prepared for. It wasn't going to work, or she was going to tell me that it was just my imagination. About 45 minutes into the hypnosis session, I was deep in hypnosis, and I was going back through, instead of it being a past life regression, I went through all of my childhood experiences. That's what my subconscious brought me back to those experiences as a child. And it all sounds so fucking bizarre, but 45 minutes into the session, my guides came through. It was the same. It was the same energy, same vibration, same entity that came through again and again as in my childhood. And I started channeling her. I started channeling my spirit guide.
Yeah.
I know it sounds insane.
No, it's amazing. I'm in. Like I
am in two now. So I finished that session. I was channeling for about an hour as the hypnotherapist was like asking all of these like deep psychological, spiritual, esoteric questions of my guide. I don't remember a word of it. I came out of the experience as she counted me out of the hypnosis. I felt I knew that something had happened, but I didn't know what had happened. But I knew something really insane had just happened because it felt like I had blacked out. It felt like I remember seeing my guide as she came through, and then everything else was a blank. And I burst into tears. I didn't know what had happened, but I knew something really intense had just happened. So Sasha is the name of the hypnotherapist. She was hugging me, and she long story short, she invited me to start doing weekly sessions with her on Zoom, and she's like, "I'm going to. There's something. You've got something special here."
Wow.
So she taught me how to put myself into a state of relaxation, deep hypnosis, and connect to my guides on my own. So
convenient.
we did. Yeah, so we
You
did
don't
that.
have to use her.
Exactly. So
You don't need the interpreter.
Exactly. So we did that for about 6 months on Zoom. Every Friday,
Wow.
we would just do like meditation, essentially like deep meditation is what I go into a state of deep meditation and connect to my guides, and she would ask questions. And then I started doing monthly. And then everything went down with my partner. I decided to book in for an actual session with her in person. I went back to Woodland Hills to her office, and
She's got to be good if you're going to Woodland Hills.
she's wonderful. To drive those 45 minutes an hour out there.
Close to me.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
that's
there you go. That in the second in-person session I had with her, after it was like a week after everything had gone down with my ex-partner, it was like something something opened up within me. I was so raw and I was so vulnerable, and I felt like the actual shock of what had occurred with my partner, and just feeling like my whole world had been flipped upside down. Are you familiar with Jill Bolte Taylor? She's a neuroscientist who had a stroke. She did a TED talk like years ago called "My Stroke of Insight," and
Stroke of Insight.
Yeah, and she's a neuroscientist, and so she had the ability, while she was having a stroke, and the right hemisphere of her brain was the only thing that was active. She had the ability, like as a neuroscientist, to understand what was happening in her brain.
Wow.
She could see that the world around her wasn't what we see it to be. That everything is energy, everything is vibration, everything is connected. That we're all just spiritual entities. Like that's kind of similar to what happened when I had the shock of the rug being pulled out from underneath of me with my partner. Like I feel like the world around me just started to melt, and it just like nothing made sense anymore. And yet everything was connected, and everything was one, and everything made sense. So when I went into a hypnosis session with Sasha, when I was in that emotional and energetic state, I was just so wide open that the channeling was just it was like a trickle before in all of my sessions, and it was just like the floodgates opened. And
No traffic.
no traffic, exactly. Yeah. Like I was zooming down that freeway to Woodland Hills, and it was. I don't even know how to put it into words, really, other than it's At this point now, I go into. So I consider myself a medium or a channeler. So I go into a meditative state. I connect with my guides, my higher self, and it's like having your own AI or your own ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It's like you can ask any question in the world about life, love, spirituality, the universe, and this wisdom comes through me. I have no idea what's being said. I don't remember a word of it. My eyes are closed. I don't remember a word of it during the sessions. And it's the most beautiful, prolific, profound, wise, kind, loving, consistent guidance and advice that
do you just do it for yourself, or can people be with you and ask you questions or ask your spirit guides questions?
Basically, they speak in analogies, and I remember them saying very early on, it's like we're like Siri. You know, it's like we're always here, but you have to first hey Siri.
Hey, Siri.
Like you have to ask, and then ask the question.
Right. So your
I've only ever
friends
done
can ask you to ask them.
Correct. Yeah,
wow.
exactly.
That's-
So that's how it started. So
Yeah.
during that first session, the session last April, when it was really, really strong, she's like, there's something special here. So she started collecting questions from colleagues, from family members, from friends about what do you want to know?
Dodge.
What do you want to know about life? What do you want to know about love? What do you want to know about the universe, spiritual, anything? Like, what do you want to know? I have no idea what the questions are going to be when I go in. So I go into a state of meditation, of hypnosis. She asks to speak to my higher self. My higher self comes through and asks the questions. And these are things that I don't have any fucking clue about: how the world works, how life works, how the universe works, about other dimensions, about vibration, about physics, about past lives, reincarnation, karma, intuition. Like, I don't fucking know. And yet these answers come through, and they are all so beautiful. It's so consistent. It's always the same channel. It's always the same guidance, always the same wisdom, always the same voice that comes through. So we did that for about 4 months in a row, where we would do monthly sessions so this woman's quite expensive. Let me just say that her sessions are very expensive, and she was giving me all these sessions for free because she
was intrigued,
fucking
she was
fascinated.
like,
She's like,
she knew that you were the real deal. Yeah,
in a way that I didn't even know, and I doubted it because, like I said, I don't remember anything while I'm doing these sessions. It's only when we record the sessions, then we started filming the sessions.
So you hear them, and you're like, oh shit.
Correct. So listening back to the sessions was one thing, and that was it was mind blowing for me listening back to the sessions because it's me, but it's not me, and I'm hearing everything that's coming through, and it's all true to me, and it makes sense to me, and it's very practical guidance and wisdom about life that I can apply to my own life, and I can make sense of the world in my own world in a way that I'd never been able to before. And then we started filming the sessions, and that fucked me up. That I started watching the sessions as seeing myself. Like hearing yourself is one thing, but then seeing myself,
it's a whole different.
It's a whole different thing.
Animal,
With my eyes are closed and all this, the tone of my voice is a little bit deeper when I'm channeling, and this wisdom that's coming through. I called my mother and said, "You get on a plane and come here now because I'm either insane and you have to lock me up, or this is true."
Right.
And she's the one person who I just trust more than anybody on the planet. She was like, "You're not insane. This is real."
100%.
Yeah. She watched. I had her watch hours and hours and hours of footage. She was blown away by it. So then I started doing. So then Sasha and I started inviting friends to the sessions. We invited Constance Zimmer and the love of my life.
Oh my God.
Who was one of my best friends. Do you know that Constance is one of my best friends on the planet?
Of course.
She's one of my. She's the greatest gift that I got from Unreal. I love her so much. She's one of the kindest, most empathic, loving, caring, generous, wisest souls on the planet. She's
smartest, most talented.
She's fucking brilliant. I love her so much. She's just such a safe space. She's like the polar opposite of Quinn King.
Yeah, which is what's so funny.
Which is brilliant. She plays the most vicious, biting, horribly narcissistic characters.
Oh my God,
and she could not be further from that. She's just such a kind, loving. She's so special. She's so fucking special. So and Brita Wool, who is also on Unreal. She's also one of my best friends on the planet who played Faith in the first season. Just such an extraordinary human being.
Yeah.
So my first session with friends was Constance and Brita's partner Matt, my friend Mahogany, and they all came out to Woodland Hills.
Yeah.
And we did the same thing we would normally do.
Yeah.
I sit down in meditation, I put myself deep in a state of meditation, and then they ask the questions. And I never know the questions. I never know what the questions are going to be. I never want to see them. I never want to.
Are they asking things about themselves, like, am I going to A, B, or C? Or
so this is where I kind of differentiate between mediumship and channeling.
Okay.
So are you familiar? The only channeler that I was familiar with was Abraham Hicks. It's this woman named Esther Hicks. I'm sure you've seen videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
She's a woman named Esther Hicks who had a very similar experience to me. Went into a state of meditation or hypnosis, and this voice, this channel came through her.
Yeah.
It's a collective consciousness named Abraham, and it's a very wise, prolific, kind, loving, benevolent voice that comes through, and it's about how to make life a little bit easier as a human being. And and they tend to focus on the law of attraction, on spiritual and universal laws, and she focuses on the law of attraction. So it's in those sessions when you go speak to Abraham, you're asking about life. You're not asking about you're not going to a psychic.
My dog gonna die.
Correct. You're not going to a psychic or a medium.
How much time do I have left with Bruno?
Exactly. Yeah, we don't talk about Bruno. No, but it's not about finding love or partnership or am I going to win the lottery? It's not like going to you ask the questions that are asked with me when I'm channeling. It's about the collective consciousness. So it's about how do we what is intuition? How do we tell the difference between fear and ego? The questions about reincarnation, questions about past life. It's really you can ask anything, but it's questions about the collective consciousness, how do I human, basically, how do I human? Those are the questions that are asked.
That should be the title of your book.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
I have written a book, so it's been a year of doing these channeling sessions and transcribing it. Okay,
How do I human?
the first.
And by the way, I just want to say we are probably going to have to do a 2-parter for this.
Sure,
one,
yeah.
which is fine. I mean,
Absolutely.
we are.
Are we way over?
Well,
Yeah.
How long are your episodes usually?
it
An hour.
depends.
But we
Really?
love
But
this.
it
Oh, I love
depends.
this too.
I love it.
Lily.
You can, okay, good.
Lily-
Okay, you can kick
Lily
me
is
out. You can call me back
Lily's
whatever
like,
you want.
No, Lily's
whatever you
100
need.
p in, which
Yeah.
so
Oh,
are we.
funny.
This is so interesting.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're interested.
Oh,
it's so
beyond.
normal to me at this point that
Yeah.
it's kind of hard. Same with like talking about narcissistic
Right.
abuse and like it's
Yeah.
so normalized to me at this point. I don't know what's interesting and
Right.
what's not interesting
Right.
at this point.
That's
Yeah.
so,
Truly.
That makes sense.
I totally get that.
You know, so the book that I wrote, it's okay. So all of these sessions that I had been doing with Sasha, we started filming them,
Right.
and I started posting these videos on all of my social media.
I did not know that.
I share them now on social
Okay.
media. So
I gotta.
So they're like 3 to 6 minute long videos, depending on what the question is and however long the answer is.
Right.
So I just took all of those sessions and I utilized AI. I transcribed, just ran through the audio programs through AI and a program called Otter, and it just transcribes it. Transcribes the entire sessions for you.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So the first, after 6 months of sessions, I had 300 pages, and I was like, "What am I going to do with this?" So, I have a podcast called Conversations with Others, and I started posting the channeling videos on that same podcast page. But I kind of titled it because it was, a new energy, a completely different subject matter than talking to celebrities about what it's like to be in this industry. And like, anyway, so I titled it Conversations with Consciousness. So, so all the videos are on there as Conversations with Consciousness. I posted when I was in Cape Town, I just finished I polished up the book and sent it into my agents, and I really love it. But I think that, like I was just saying, because it's so normalized to me, channeling, narcissism, all of that, like I don't know what's interesting and what's not at this point. So it's at this point it's really beautiful, wise, profound wisdom, but it's quite a dense spiritual text.
Okay.
And I think at this point I need to go back and kind of recalibrate it and make it a little bit more accessible for.
Well, unfortunately, so many of these things have to be reduced to like the 7 laws,
Correct.
the thing you think.
Correct.
That's sort of what people.
It's the TikTok mentality at
Yeah.
this point, right? Like you kind of like need
it's
it
what
quick,
they glob
quick and
onto,
snappy, as opposed to
5-minute morning.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So, I'm kind of doing in the process of revamping and recalibrating it.
That's exciting.
To make it a little bit more accessible and I mean this with all love for somebody like my mom, for somebody like my adopted mom, who doesn't spend her time listening to Hay House Radio and podcasts on spirituality and reading A Course in Miracles. Like it's like all brand new to them. I kind of want to simplify it for the everyday person. So,
well, I do feel like it's interesting because there's got to be a counterbalance to all the wackadoo that's going on in the world, and it does feel like there's sort of a equal and opposite reaction in some ways. Like you feel like that tide has changed a little bit. Like I
know that I'm in need of some spiritual guidance and some reassurance and some and some like words of wisdom, and
everything's gonna be okay.
Like that loving voice. I need that, and that's honestly it's what I get from channeling, because like I said, I don't remember what is being said while I'm channeling, so it's only when I listen back and am in the editing process or watching the videos or listening to the audio that I take it in, and it's the words that I need to hear as well. So essentially to kind of like de-woo it for everybody, it really is just the way that my guides or my higher self is the channel that I connect to that comes through when I'm channeling. It's my intuition. And they've made that very clear to me since day one of channeling. This is your intuition that's coming through. We all have it. It's who we are. It's the truth and the essence of who we are. It's essentially us connecting to our soul. It's the source essence of who we are. So my higher self speaks in analogies that take really like massive universal profound thoughts and concepts that human beings have been trying to wrap their heads around for a millennia and real truths and simplify it. And so a couple of analogies that they use that really break it down is that we're all vibration, we're all frequency, right? Like I said before. And so as human beings, if we come into this planet as radios, we come in at a certain frequency, and it's just our job to tune out all of the noise, to constantly and consciously tune our own dial, our own frequency back to our natural state of being, our own natural born channel, that state of stillness within. We get there through meditation.
Yeah.
Just through sitting and being still with yourself, through calming your mind, calming your breath, calming your physical being into a state of stillness. And from that place, we kind of raise our proverbial antenna up into a higher channel, and we ask for help and guidance. And that's our intuition that comes through. Those are our guides, those are our guardians. It's really not. It's like it's really quite simple.
Right.
And it's with what we've been told for thousands upon thousands of years as human beings.
Right.
And yet we all want to make it so much more complex and complicated than what it actually
Just be
is.
still and
But all I can say is that, you know, meditation has kind of been a practice in my life, in and out, willy-nilly, for the past 10, 15 years. But I didn't really understand the why of it.
Yeah.
And that explained the why of it to me.
Yeah.
And I can't deny it for myself. That's how I connect to my guides. That's how I channel. I just go into a place of stillness.
Yeah.
I raise my proverbial antenna. I ask them for help. I ask them to come through, and they come through.
Yeah.
And it's never failed me. It's a tried and true practice for myself.
Well, it's such a big part. You know, it's funny because I think of it as like throwing the line up, like a big rope that gets grabbed, and then I'm like, but.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, it's just like throwing the rope up.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, something grabs it.
Yes.
I'm gonna use that.
Yeah.
I don't meditate, but I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I am.
But-
I am.
But
I think I was supposed to.
yeah, the
before this
reason
next
I interjected was just when I was at the University of Betty Ford, as I like to call
Love
it.
that. Yeah. Love her.
Love
Huge
her.
fan.
Huge fan. Huge fan. Love her work. They had us meditate every day, and they were just going into the science of how helpful it is with cravings. So I talk a lot to people that I either work with as sponsees or just friends who are dealing with stuff about. It's an enormous aid in dealing with cravings, and I didn't. I was like, okay, fine, great. But my cravings this time did not lift for about 6 months, which was
excruciating.
Yeah. However, by learning to sort of have the thought and pass it, all those analogies that they make, touch it with a feather and let it go, I was able to do it, even though my monkey brain was like, give me my fix, give me my
fucking banana right now. Yeah.
One that has bolted to the point of being alcoholic. Give me. Yeah. I was, and it was so different than the first time I got sober, because that time I had hit bottom. This time, I had my kids, I had such a life to protect that I was like, I can't afford, if I can stop it before I go there, that would be good. But that meant that the craving part and I still was having a little bit of a romance with the whole thing. I still was like,
It's easy to if you haven't hit bottom.
Yeah.
You can romanticize it still.
You can still be like, well, that 1 or 10 times was really good, and deny, the other damage it's doing. But yeah, and then also finding a higher power of your own understanding is such an important part, I think, of.
It's fundamental to recovery.
Well, and I think people can get it very confused, but really it is the acceptance that you are not God.
Sure.
Right? Because all of us come in and, trying to control, as you were saying.
Yep.
And the desire to control is so intense. And
So
I
it
would
makes us
lie
feel
awake.
safe.
Yeah, I would lie awake at night with my kids, as the little ones, being like, "How am I going to solve global warming?"
Wow.
I'd go through the list of all and I'd be like, later I'd be like, you know what? Probably other people are better qualified.
Right.
But I would take on the worries of the world. You know what I mean? Because I had such a delusion of control.
Sure.
And even though I knew, more rationally that I couldn't solve all these problems, the weight of the world sometimes would, hit me like that. And it's, to me, the biggest thing is so much of our fear and our, our desire to control, that's lifted when you can accept that you're not in charge.
Sure.
Whatever that looks like.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that you can live with the unknown.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right?
God, that's beautiful.
So many of us are so afraid of what might happen. And
Sure.
I've always wanted to tell, and I do try to tell people, the things that I worried about, for the most part, did not happen
Sure.
so far.
Yeah.
But I wasn't looking for the thing that did come. And how can you? So
Absolutely.
if I
Yeah.
could go back to, the mom of those little kids and be
Yeah.
like, you got your focus on the wrong shit. Like,
Yeah.
that's not,
I remember hearing this analogy recently. It was something along, in terms of people who have experienced a lifetime of trauma or
Yeah.
abuse or whatever it may be. It's how empaths are developed, basically. Where you're just you're used to scanning the room
Hypervigilance.
for
Yep.
safety and
Yep.
scanning energies of people. Who
Yeah.
who do I have to be in this situation in order to be safe? But there's the old parable of 15 puppies and a cobra. Like if that's the world that you're used to being
Yeah.
in, of trauma and constantly having to protect yourself. If you walk into a room and there's 15 puppies and there's a cobra, where's your attention going to
Right.
go?
Right.
You're going to focus on the cobra,
I'm
right?
going
You're
to date that cobra.
Exactly. I'm going to marry that motherfucker.
I'm going to say like,
I'm going to lock that shit
"Hello,
down.
cobra."
No, but you just said something that was interesting to me that I'd never thought of before, in terms of when you referenced going into recovery this time without having hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
The difference between myself in every other relationship or breakup with a narcissist before I knew what narcissism was, and this time, was that it was my proverbial rock bottom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I had trusted him so much, and he wasn't, he didn't seem like the cobra to me. He seemed
Yeah.
like one of the puppies to me. I trusted him
Yeah,
so much,
oof.
so
Those are the
for that
worst
reason,
kind.
he was the one who held all of my secrets, all of my traumas.
Yeah.
He knew the details in and out of everything that had ever happened to me, how all the abuses I had suffered, and he took all of that up, wrapped it in a bow, and
Weaponized it.
weaponized it against me. So that was my rock bottom, and that was
Yeah.
there was no turning back
Right.
from that. But
Right.
but that was
You have a choice.
no, it was the catalyst, though. It was like
Yeah.
my whole world exploded, and it was like, well, I have nothing to stand upon, so I guess I've got to build a new foundation. But,
Yeah.
and it's one of it's something that I have always appreciated so much about, since from the moment that I first started channeling and the messages that would come through. It's never been, the messages that have always been so consistent is that we all have the ability to do this. Don't look to me or to Jeffrey's
Yeah.
higher self for the ansers that your own intuition can tell
That's
you.
what
Can tell you
Laura
yourself.
Lynn Jackson. Are you familiar with Laura Lynn?
No.
I did this project, wrote a script with a friend about this woman, Laura Lynn Jackson, who wrote a book called Signs and some other books. She, very similar to your experience, like knew early on, was having these experiences, but also had a family where she told her mom, and her mom was like, yeah, we know. It's like your grandma had it, like it was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
She shut it down at a certain point because she had some really traumatic experiences. But the book Signs is all about like opening your own channel and getting to know your own, and even like putting it to the test in a way that I found very scary, because I was like, what if I do this? It's kind of like when you went to see Sasha, is it?
Yeah.
What if she tells? What if it doesn't happen? I was like,
Sure.
what if it doesn't
Right.
happen?
But what if it does?
what if
Like
it
it's almost,
does?
it's almost
And
equally scary.
What if it all works out?
Exactly. Yeah. That's funny.
But the crazy thing was, so one of the things she says in the book Science is like, ask for something pretty specific.
Sure.
And
I got a lot of things.
a bunch
Yeah.
of people had passed, including the woman who helped raise our kids, Lydia, who, my daughter thinks of her as our other mother. And she was just so foundational to, their lives, and, helped me through so much stuff. And she passed away really suddenly in a really brutal way. So I was thinking about, she gave me this gift that was like a mermaid statue. So I was thinking about her and a mermaid, but I was like, mermaid with dark hair, because you always see mermaids with like
You see that Ariel
red
bullshit.
hair, that Ariel bullshit, or blonde. You think
Sure.
of
Yeah.
and she said you usually get the
Older. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually. Yeah. Halle
right.
Bailey, you were amazing.
Yeah, God bless you.
She was actually.
But basically, she says that generally it'll come like within like 2 or 3 days. So I
Sure.
was like, okay, I'm asking my spirit guides for a mermaid with dark hair, and and I'm not allowed to like ask, right?
Yeah.
Like, meaning you're not supposed to look for it.
Sure.
Like you're not, you ask, but
Sure.
then you're not supposed to look for it. You're supposed to just
Let it go.
Let it go.
Yeah.
So, but I'm aware the time is ticking down, right? I'm like, okay, it's 2 days, haven't gotten it, and this was during lockdown, or mostly lockdown. We could now go places with masks and stuff. And my daughter wanted to go to Target, so I take her to Target, And, I'll be honest, a little part of me was like, if I'm going to see a mermaid
It's gonna be
with
in
dark
this
hair,
joint.
I'm going to see it because they have everything at Target.
Yeah.
Sure do, including mermaids with dark hair.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm not going down the toy aisle. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. But part of me is like, now I am looking a little bit, right? I'm like, but we get to the checkout and I'm like, okay, just let it go. Let it go. And then I started to get this kind of dizzy, sweaty feeling, like this really strange, like kind of my heart started to race. And we're at the checkout counter and a guy turns around at the other one and he's wearing a T-shirt with a mermaid with dark hair.
That is so weird.
No, it doesn't surprise me in the least.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
But-
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like even then, anyway, so Laura Lynn's amazing and she was very much aligned with everything you're saying. And the other interesting thing with her was like she has a deal with her spirit guides that she doesn't want to see ghosts. She's just
Me-
like, I
me too.
don't.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Well, I don't want to see.
Yeah.
I don't want to see
Nope,
ghosts.
nope,
It's
I
a
have,
deal.
I have the same deal.
Yeah,
Okay.
she saw a couple and
Yep.
she was like, nope.
They live
Me
at
too.
my parents' mansion, or it's not really. I mean, it's an old Victorian house
Yeah.
in San Diego.
Yeah.
But that thing is filled to the brim
Sure.
with ghosts.
Sure.
And I've seen them.
Sure.
I've seen them, and I don't want to see them anymore.
Look at
So
you, little
just-
Miss Medium.
Yeah,
I know.
Well, I've seen them
Wow.
since I was 9 years
So
old.
you're connected as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't like it.
No, it
as a
doesn't.
kid.
No, I feel the same way.
You know what I really didn't like? It was less seeing them. It was when I was sleeping,
Yeah.
and I'd be fast asleep.
Oh, no.
And I'd wake up to try to get to the just
No,
when you
no,
wake up
no.
that you're going to go to the bathroom, and they would sit on my legs.
Nope. Lily just
Pressure on my
visibly-
legs. They'd sit on my
No.
legs every time.
No.
Never had it happen anywhere else. And in fact, my brother, we never told him about this.
Yeah.
We never spoke.
Yes.
He said, we started talking about the mansion. I said, I always get haunted when I'm here. I don't sleep there anymore, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. He goes, I get haunted here too. He goes, sometimes when I sleep here, I feel like someone's sitting on my legs. And I said, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Oh, my
You gotta be-
God.
So they're really sitting on
No,
my
it's
legs.
real. Yeah,
Why are they
it's real.
sitting on my legs, Jeffrey?
Great question.
What
yeah,
is-
n-
can you
not a
ask
clue.
your spirit
Not a
guides?
clue. No, you need to ask your spirit guides, honey. That's the
okay.
deal.
Why are
That's
they sitting on my
that's
legs?
the
Because I want to
point.
spend the night at my parents' house. It's a beautiful home. in
if
San
you
Diego,
ask Laura,
but I can't sleep there.
If you ask Laura, you go to the frequency.
Correct,
You do a little
correct.
meditation. You just ask them not to.
Correct.
Because you know what?
They're
It's
just
really
fooling
weird.
around. They're just
Just
messing
don't
around.
sit on my legs anymore.
Yeah,
I'd
just
like to
ask them
sleep.
not to.
All right. Okay.
Because
Glad we cleared that
she
up.
asked. She basically told. It was like, here's the deal.
Yeah, I don't want to see
I don't
you.
want to see ghosts.
Yeah.
Freaks me out.
Yeah.
Don't like it. Don't want it.
Yeah.
I think there are some simple things that you could do
Yeah.
to just to be able to go and spend time in that space and
I would
protect
like
yourself. I mean, like Marty said, actually going to a state of stillness and going tuning yourself to that frequency and just asking them to leave you alone, setting
Yeah.
that energetic boundary, burning sage
Okay.
or Palo Santo,
Yeah.
envisioning a white light around you or a white pyramid around you. Like there are certain things that I do before I channel to protect myself as well, and those are without fail. Every time I channel, I burn sage. I ask for protection. I visualize a pyramid of white light around me. I take baths with salt water, like Himalayan salt, just to kind of clear your energy field.
All right.
Certain
Hopefully
things
my
like
stepmom will be down with this, with the
that. Yeah.
the burning of the Palo Santo. It might make her a little nervous. The house was built in
Really? Oh,
1880, so
fair enough.
but
Fair.
so it's
Fair enough.
might be a little
Interesting.
tindery.
So to to close off the conversation about the religious practices and such, I think that it's so like you said, there are so many beautiful experiences that we can have within those settings, those environments, but you really have to pay attention. You just have to pay attention in the same way that, and it kind of ties into what you were saying about the mermaid with the dark hair. Like you don't have to necessarily be looking, like actively looking, but just pay attention. Pay attention to your own life, and life is going to present to you everything that you need to know, as long as you have a sense of clarity within yourself, as long as you take it upon yourself to go back to that state of stillness within yourself and be able to have a very clear connection with your own intuition.
Yeah.
It's our GPS. We all have it. It's all installed within our bodies from the time that we are born. It's just a matter of listening to it or not listening to it. Yeah. And that's something that I've had to learn through channeling as well. When my higher self is giving advice or guidance to my friends or family or whoever, often they say, when encouraging people people to develop that relationship with your own intuition. It is a matter of trial and error. It's just a matter of listening and paying attention and paying attention to certain situations. Like when you don't listen to your intuition, what happens? When you do listen to your intuition, what happens?
Yeah.
And the thing that I've come back to again and again is that it just always leads me back to my path of least resistance. It's never leading me to a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Right.
It's just leading me back onto my path, so that it's a smoother ride, so that I'm not in a state of stress and fear and panic, and I can hear my own intuition, my own guidance, and I can pay attention to the world around me. And then I'm aware of when something feels right, when it feels wrong, when somebody is safe, when they're not safe.
Yeah.
But it is all around us in spiritual institutions, in acting classes.
Oh gosh,
with producers and showrunners, with powers that be. There's a lot of really destructive, narcissistic individuals out there, and it's a matter of really being able to not only know the telltale signs.
It's 2:00.
It's 2 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock.
For the time I.
That's my alarm as well when I wake up, because I feel like it's the most soothing one.
It's so nice.
Yeah, it's the least jarring.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a good time to say we'll do this again.
I would love to.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
This has been such
You've
a
been
pleasure.
a delight.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been although my the way my brain works in this conversation is reflective of that. It's kind of been all over the place.
Yeah.
It's been really sitting here with you both and being able to share this really complex part of myself and everything that I've experienced over these past couple of years. It's felt so good. I haven't put all of this into words in this capacity ever, other than outside of therapy.
Yeah.
I haven't had it reflected back to me in this capacity, and
It's
to
a
hear your
conversation,
experiences.
right?
It's
So
really
it's like,
beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you for creating this safe space in order for me to come in and
Oh my
share this
gosh.
part of myself. It's such a gift. It's such a blessing. Thank you both.
I'm so
Well,
glad.
Thank you. And
I
thank you,
love
Lillian,
you.
as well. I love you. I love you too. I really do.
Yeah.
I really love you.
For the amount of time we spend around each other, it's a rare thing to look at someone and go
truly.
like,
Yeah.
and you pointed at the TV when you were just a.
when I was a
That's
kid,
cute.
honey.
That's crazy.
You are-
Talk about-
you are my dream come true, Marty.
Oh, get out
I
of
love you.
here.
I
You
love
are.
it.
You are.
Okay, well,
Yeah. You've changed my life in more ways than you know. Truly.
Aw.
Thank you, my beautiful friend.
Mm.
I love you. And Megan, you're such a dream too.
Aw.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's
you
nice.
too.
Thank
It's
you.
been. You don't suck.
No,
It's
you're
been-
lovely.
I'm
You're
joking.
wonderful.
It's
Like
been
attracts
wonderful
like,
getting
honey.
to know you.
Thank
I'm really
you.
happy.
me
Thanks for
too.
bringing him into this world.
Well,
I mean, you didn't birth
I
him.
can't
You
lay claim to
practically
that.
invented me.
I mean,
Marty
you didn't
Knoxon.
birth
You did.
Yeah.
The amount of times that I got recognized in Cape Town from Unreal was blowing my mind.
What?
It blew my mind. I thought that I was going to be there totally anonymously, and it was
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 times a day. And it was one. To be fair, it was your Jeffrey Bowyer-Chapman. That's a Drag Race fan.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's, you're that guy on that amazing show. You're
that's
Jay.
cute.
It's always unreal. It's always
That's cute.
unreal. People love the show. People
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Well, I just loved that second part with Jeffrey, and I mean, he's like,
He's a medium.
yeah,
He's a medium, and he you
He's
can see
legit.
that on his socials too. Like
Yeah.
he posts stuff, and pretty moving and intense. Like the whole conversation led us places that I would not have expected.
didn't anticipate.
No, I did not expect my addiction to then veer into spiritual and transcendence and ghosts.
And it reminded me that I also believe that I have the gift. I just don't utilize it.
Yeah.
It kind of freaks me out.
yeah.
But it's there.
Yeah.
And it's been there since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I just tend to ignore it.
Oh.
But that was something interesting that that just kind of opened it up in me
Yeah.
again. And I feel
Yeah.
like, I'm going to go sit down and meditate
Yeah.
and see if I can get to that frequency.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that was fascinating.
So his social is Jeffrey B. Is it Jeffrey B. at Jeffrey B. Chapman?
Jeffrey B. Chapman.
And then our socials are at
My Addiction Pod. Yes.
where you can go and see all of the stuff.
And we'll answer your questions.
Yeah.
And yeah,
All right.
come find us.
See you next time.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to My Addiction. As a reminder, this podcast is meant for entertainment. We are not medical practitioners, and anything on the podcast does not constitute medical advice or treatment. Please consult your own medical professionals at all times. My Addiction is a Tiny Pyro production. It was created and hosted by Marty Knoxon and Megan Weaver. It is produced by Marty Knoxon, Megan Weaver, Maria Grasso, and Lillian Holman. It is edited by Lillian Holman. Our graphics were designed by Lane Bynum. Our social media is managed by Aziza Abu-Boutain and Ashley Lindsay. Special thanks to Allison Shano, Rebecca Steinberg, Amy Gregonis, and Melissa Tavarit.